not hate to say that we were kidnapped and brought here. It's true. It's not hate to say that we were Jim Crow, discriminated and segregated. It's true.
Our problem has been, as black people, we've always been concerned about white America, never about...
I can't be a pessimist because I'm alive. To be a pessimist means that you have agreed that human life is an academic matter.
We might not be back. I might be in jail. I might be anywhere. But when I leave, you can remember I said with the last words on my lips that I am a revolutionary. And you're going to have to keep on saying that.
Thank you for tapping in. This is Brian HRap B. Williams. This is End of the Bench Media. A few minutes for HRap. It is great to have you. It is Monday. Thank you for tapping in. Hit that like, hit that share. Tell a friend, people in the chat room. Y'all already know. If you're watching this live, please, James Brown, please go to www.theendofthebench.com. If you're not watching this live, go there. If you're watching it live, continue to sit there, hit that like, hit that share, comment, engage, do what you can, and I'll do what I have to. Again, thanks to my parents, Dolores and John. Without Dolores and John, there's no me. Without me, you'd be doing something else with your valuable time. Thank you. White people, leave the hate alone. The hate is killing you. It's suffocating you. And what do I mean by that? A lot of people look at this thing. When you say white people and hate, you go, you mean all white people. No, I mean people who identify as white. There's no such thing as a white person in the world. And if you embrace whiteness, that's where the problem lies. Because then what is white? White comes along with tyranny, discrimination, bigotry, hatred, and things of that nature. I have people in my life who I consider friends, and they were not white. They were Jewish, Mike Nick. They were Jewish, Dave Trope. They were Brett Koslowski. He was Polish. And they all identify Irish, German, and things of that nature. They never identified as white because they knew what came along with white. And the people who identify with white are traditionally people who are stirring the pot for this madness and this foolishness. And they're one of the major contributors to the brainwashing of people outside of that culture and the elevation of a guy who does not know what the Declaration of Independence means. He said in front of on a national stage, the Declaration of Independence was a sign of love. What's a sign of love? We talking about something that you learned in fifth grade. Fifth grade, what are you, 9 in fifth grade or 10 in fifth grade? And this guy cannot outthink a fifth grade. And this is why we landed right here. We've been put in a situation to whereas, first and foremost, you were duped into believing America is the place to be. America is the thing to do. America is the greatest country in the world. Now, again, this is why I always tell people when they use things, when you hear that propagandized rhetoric and then you repeat it, I always say, what exactly does that mean? And people can't answer. Wow, America, the greatest country in the world. Have you ever been to another country? No. Have you ever lived in another country? No. Have you ever read anything about another country? No. That's why when people say black on black crime, I say, so what's the number 2? 92% of black people hurt black people. I say, okay, what's the number 2 say? That don't make a difference because I'm talking about us. In order to say something is bad, you must compare and contrast it to something. I cannot say my girlfriend has the best hairdo in the world and I've never seen any other hairdo. I cannot say she's the best dressed person in the world and I've never seen her. I never see anybody else dress. You have to compare and contrast it. Once you do that, and then you can make that statement. You must compare it to several things and then see how it works. Now, just for the record, that stat, black on black crime, 92% of black people hurt other black people. 89% of white people hurt white people, or people identify as white. They do the same. And then guess what? It's someone in every ethnic corner of this country hurting somebody in that corner. So guess what? Because we're such a segregated society, the more than likely you're going to hurt someone in your culture versus hurting someone outside the culture. I literally heard an elder today. I don't know why. Quote. This is a direct quote. I don't know why. Every time, like, let me give you backstory. It's this neighborhood in my community called Pilsen. This is where traditionally Mexican Americans live. And it's been a rash of kidnappings, shootings, stabbings, and brutal harm has come to the Latino brothers in that portion of the town. And someone was telling them about it. And this person said, I don't know, she said, is it Mexican people doing it? And the other person said, yeah, it is. I don't know why. Every time I think of crime, I think of black people. Brainwashing. And this is not a stupid person. This is not an uninformed person, but this is how we've been programmed to believe. And this is why the name of the show is what it is. That hate that has ramped up in the world behind quote unquote white people is the problem. Because white people believe they're losing their footage. But when you're talking to German people, when you're talking to Irish people, when you're talking to Anglo-Saxon people, when you're talking to Portuguese or Spain or what have you, whatever country in Europe, they're cool. You know why? Because they understand culture, they understand what's going on in the world, they understand that you need it, there ebbs and flow in regards to power and popularity and things of that nature. And you don't have a set dominance on anything. You did not create this country. You stole this country. You did not invent most of the things here. Other people did. You did not construct most of the things in the country. You did. Other people did that. See, this is why we struggle as a society. But as I do every day, I'm gonna make a biblical reference. The end of the world, as you know it, that's in Revelations. But people always say the end of the world. They forget that as you know it. See, European dominance or white people dominating has been the status quo for quite some time now in the United States of America as well as around the world. And that reign at the top is short, like leprechauns. I'm telling you. The reason I'm saying that is this. The United States of America has been one of the biggest bullies in the history of the world. One of the biggest bullies in the history of the world. When we allow someone to attack Pearl Harbor, this is documented. This isn't an HRap opinion. This is something that has been documented. It's actual and it's factual. So they can get involved and get into the world war and flex their muscle because they had the atomic bomb. They dropped a bomb on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, Japan. And then they went out and pretended that wasn't going to affect me. Atomic energy spreading throughout the world is going to affect anybody. Radioactive anything in the midst of anything will affect everything around it. Sorry, it does not. You don't knock down an entire city and then we're cool. We're cool. I know we use radioactive energy to do that, but it's only going to hurt them. Insane. And then since then, and even before then, the United States were the number one consumers in the world. We are the largest military in the world. We are the world leaders. And guess what? People are walking away from that premise. And at one point, previous to the internet, you could have made that argument. America, the greatest country in the world. Guess what? The internet allows you to look up things. And information is at your fingertips. Not the Google search, and then you're going to get the generic and bland version of the truth. I'm talking about the actual reality of the world. And people are starting to walk away from the dollar. It's called BRICS. And you got countries in South America, you got countries on the continent, you got countries in Europe, and you got countries in Asia saying, hey, man, we're not dealing with that dollar anymore, which lowers the power of the dollar, which weakens the biggest dog in the yard. So, and then if they and they're getting together and then they're shopping with each other, guess what? The number one consumers in the world, we don't really need y'all because it's 340 million people in America. And guess what? It's 6.5 billion other 6,600 million people in the rest of the world. Guess who don't need who? Exactly. See, when you have white nationalism that has mistreated people in Asia, has mistreated people in South America, has all but ran roughshod through the continent of Africa. And now those people are rising up and saying, wait a minute, you need my minerals to make your iPhones, and you need us to construct your iPhones, and you need us to do this, and you need us to do that, or we're going to put tariffs on you. And then they just say, well, we won't buy your stuff. And if we don't buy it, guess what? You suffer the consequences. Now, you shut up, bigot. We don't need you. And what are you going to do? Attack them? You can't. You can't. Because then you go against your principles. But you can, but more than likely you'll lose because you have created a whole generation of mentally lazy people. You have done away with the term imagination. You want to do away with creativity. You want to do away with individualism because you want to suppress information And when you suppress information, it stymies the mental. And when you stymie the mental, what happens? The person slowly withers away and dies. And that's what they've created here. Capitalism is an oppressive system. It also gives people opportunity, but let's understand, it's about the bottom line. It's not about the right thing and doing things the right way, or making sure things continue to grow and expand. It's about, I need as much money as I can as soon as possible, and I don't care what happens. You can tell that by the fact that capitalism pollutes water, capitalism pollutes the earth, capitalism pollutes the air, and then they actually put money behind legislation that will not stop them. And then you get a whole nation of people who's in love with the money, and then you can no longer do anything because I'm in love with this dollar. And this dollar controls me. And if this dollar controls me and it validates me, if I have a bunch of those, I could be as wicked, evil, and destructive as I like because I have money. If you don't believe me, I'll take it as easy. I'll take it to something as easy as one said comedian Corey Holcomb. He was on this podcast called $1 Million Surf Game. I traditionally don't watch it, but on this day, because Corey Holcomb is a Chicagoan, I love to support people in Chicago. I love to support people in our community, and I actually like Corey Holcomb's comedy when he's doing the Corey Holcomb comedy thing. Now, they asked him, Corey, why do you hate Stephen A. Smith? And Corey said, I don't like the way he goes on national television and speaks down on Black people. He has no problem denigrating Black people, and I have a problem with that. He's ESPN's boy. That is a direct quote. Why do I remember that? I don't know. But hey, I'm on here talking every day, so I got to have something to talk about. Gilly the King, used to be Gilly the Kid. Gilly said, well, he is ESPN boy. They just gave him $100 million, never addressing, denigrating, and making people look bad in our community. So it's okay to sit on the largest sports platform in the world and denigrate people from our community with no cause, no causation, because they gave you the money. See, that's capitalism, people. And when you say, I'm a capitalist, I also want you to understand this, something I've said several dozen times on this very program. When you speak about capitalism and glowing measures, that's what happens. Your great-grandparents were part of capitalism. They were chattel slave. They were enslaved like cows, just like animals. But that was for profit. They took doctors, they took lawyers, they took scientists, they took astrologers, they took podiatrists, they took chiropractors, they took midwives, they took everything humanly possible out of that continent, which left a void in that continent and brought them over here and stripped them of everything they could besides humanity. We were too strong to be stripped of our humanity. And then they brought them over here and we built up this. But that left a void over there. But it was but hey, the white people got paid, right? That's how you live when you leave everything to capitalists. And up to capitalists. And Donald Trump is the dictionary definition of a pawn being used by the real capitalists. People, I want you to understand, how is it if I describe Donald Trump to you, you wouldn't roll with him, but because he was propped up in front of the world as this successful businessman, propagandized, and we said, what I want to be. And then when people parrot what you've put in front of us, you try to excoriate them for it. Example, the hip hop community have made several dozen songs referencing Donald Trump, not the individual, the image. Like, for example, one of my favorite groups in the history of hip hop, they're called, at the time, they were forced by Smith and Wesson to change their name from Smith. They were Smith and Wesson, but it was too close to Smith and Wesson, so they were forced to change. They changed their name to the Cocoa Brothers. And one of the hooks in that song, guess who's the Black Trump? All that mean was rich and powerful, but we like to take, they used to love him. No, we love the image of opulence. That's what we love. And guess what? 10 times as many songs have mentioned Bill Gates. I don't see a whole bunch of hip hop people trying to be coders and construct software engineers. But you prop Bill Gates in front of us as rich and powerful and undoubtedly one of the richest men in the world, and bam, yes, that's what I want to be. And if hip hop keeps going, you're gonna see Jeff Bezos' name in some rhymes pretty soon, because you want to be rich and powerful, because you told us that's how you get validation in this world. That's how you get validation in the United States of America. But we must slow this down, because we're looking at the situations to whereas people getting on TV and lying. Like one of Trump's aide was like, hey, we captured 70 million pills of fentanyl. We saved 328 million lives. That means damn near everybody in the country will be using fentanyl. And we know that's not the case. See, but when you put people in front of you who are A, untrained, B, uncouth, C, no class, no spine, no journalistic integrity, no professional integrity, no baseline morality, they'll say anything to stay in power. And this is why I need you to wake up. Need you to wake up. You have China saying, we ain't dealing with y'all until Bozo the Clown leaves. Because let's not remember what whiteness did. Whiteness, aka Donald J. Trump, went out and told the world, the Wuhan flu, aka the COVID virus, was started in China. And he was kind of right. But it was started in an American factory. But nobody talks about that, because journalism is a game now. It used to have to tell the best story with the most facts, and how editors pinpoint things. If you doubt what I'm saying, go to the 5th season of The Wire. And the editor, this young lady, she was an Asian lady, she was writing a story, and she said the building was evacuated. He went as far as to correct her, because evacuating is emptying your bowels. And she looked it up, and it was that. See, that thing is gone. That apparatus is gone, because it is no longer about getting the best story out with the best bullet points and the most factual information. It's about drawing as many eyes to the television. So Coke, Pepsi, Nike, Adidas, Reebok, Under Armour, New Balance, General Mills, liquor companies, they can pay for those commercials. When you pay for those commercials, they'll make money. And when they make money, then bam, there it is. But we keep falling for this. We keep falling for this. And if we continue to fall for this, we'll continue to be in the grips of discrimination, rape, hate, tyranny, and other things that are detrimental to humanity. Not just my people, because y'all know I speak to my people. But guess what? I told y'all last week, we are the tide, the rising tide that lifts all boats. All you have to do is look at history. When we step up, the United States looks better. Point blank period. I'm going to show you something in regards to Black history shortly, but it will be proof positive. See, of what I'm saying. I should have completed that sentence. It will be proof positive of what I'm saying. What I want us to understand is this: the world, Burkina Faso, Africa, Ghana, Nigeria, South Africa, they're starting to say, you know what, we're the most mineral rich countries on the planet, the Congo. We're the most mineral-rich continent on the planet. We need to unite and be the 50. We can be the United Countries of Africa. That is literally one of the game plans. And people are like, oh, wait a minute. If these people get together, then they will have the power. But see, it's not about power. It's about protection. It's about leave me alone. Let us shine. Let me do my thing. No, but it is what it is. But when you have a buffoon and a group of buffoons that are leading people and reinitiating hate, because hate is what got the United States where it is today, whether you want to admit it or not. You don't have to, but you have to hate the people who were here first, Black people and people who came through the Bering Straits, and then the people who came from the South American continent interbreeded, and then they called what we have Native Americans. And our brothers from the continent came over here. Don't believe it. In South Illinois, there are caves. People who have gone spelunking, cave diving, and they found things that were here 400 years before Christopher Columbus was born, and those things came from West Africa. The Mali Empire, Mansa Musa, you know the story. And if you don't, look it up. Mansa Musa, a guy who was a Muslim brother who was on a pyramid. He was about to take his Hajj. He went through the continent, and the Portuguese saw him giving away so much gold that he destabilized countries because he had that much. They said, hold on, wait a minute, let's take that. And they've done it all over the world. But see, this is what I want you to understand. People are waking up. People are waking up and saying, not anymore, buddy. Not anymore. Because it's not beneficial to you. And we have the technology because we don't want our children to be dumb. Because guess what? At one point, do you understand why summer vacation is here? Because we used to be an agricultural country. And when the children used to go to school from September after the harvest until June, at the beginning of developing of the crop, they were needed to help. But when that ended, you used to make them it became an agricultural country, and then you had the kids go help in the fields, and voila, that's why you have summer vacation. But in other countries, they have breaks, like 90-day breaks or 30-day breaks, and then you go back to school and continue to learn. Because if you think about it, if I taught you a foreign language, if I taught you Spanish, French, Russian, Mandarin, or anything of that nature, and you didn't use it for 90 days, out your head, it would be no good. I know from experience, Marisol, I can't think of her last name, and it's Marisol, who was Puerto Rican, Mexican, and this young lady named Yesenia, she was from Honduras. They used to sit at my desk at work, and they would teach me Spanish. But they would only and I forgot her name. I think her name in a second. I saw her face. And they taught me Spanish by talking to me every day. But they would never talk to me in English. They would not allow me to speak to them in English. They wouldn't even say, I couldn't even say, I had to say, ¿Qué pasó? I could not say hello. I just talked to them in Spanish. And guess what? When they moved Yesenia to the other side of the room and Marisol was promoted and moved to another department, people start speaking to me in Spanish, and now I know poquito español. I'm like 0.03 lingua instead of on my way to being bilingual. So when you take a child out of school for 90 days, you're not doing a whole lot of good. You can give them a couple weeks break, realize this minus they do around the world. That's why other countries like India, China, Japan, Russia, and other, that's why their children are on a higher academic level because they're constantly being programmed. Your brain is like, okay, you don't understand what I'm saying is this. I want you to go on Apple Music, Spotify, wherever you play your music. This is what I want you to do. If you don't believe that, I want you to play a song that you haven't heard in 15 years or 20 years, or if you haven't heard it since the 90s, and watch you know every word of it. So if you can remember something from the early 90s because you played it a lot, that's how your brain works. You can teach you something and then go right back to it, but you can't only listen to it in a brief period of time and then maintain it. And that's why people are ahead of us. And people got ahead of us because they need you to be dumb. If you're dumb, you're easily oppressed. Hence, Frederick Douglass, the person who owned his family, who claimed to own his family. The lady was teaching him how to read. Her husband said, "Oh, don't teach him how to read, because if you teach him how to read, he'll no longer be a slave." And they need us dumb. That's why they give us distractions like the P. Diddy trial, the R. Kelly situation, this crazy white lady who called a little boy, 7-year-old boy, the N-word. Those are distractions because they were trying to garnish wages today. They're trying to pass Friday, they passed the new, they passed legislation to continue this current budget, and they're trying to change the budget because they want to take away, y'all ready for this? Drum roll, please. $163 billion from the $163 billion from the budget. Oh man, well, I'm not really into politics, right? That's what a lot of people say. Hey, yo, rap, I'm not really into politics. You better get your ass into politics because they want to take money away from Medicare and Medicaid. Yo, rap, I'm only 30 years old. How's that help? Because you got a grandmother who has medication that she uses that helps her be your grandmother. You got a grandfather, you got an uncle, you got aunts. Even sometimes, at one point, rap was on drugs, medication. And guess what? Medicaid and Medicare probably was helping me pay for that. Now, those things are being removed. What are your grandparents, uncles, aunts, cousins, nieces, and nephews going to do? What are they going to do? Some of us, our parents are suffering from things like dementia and Alzheimer's and things of that nature, and facilities to take care of them because we can't really afford those facilities. Guess who operate those? It's what you do. Go to a senior home. You're going to see a whole lot of Latino little girls. You're going to see a whole lot of black young ladies. Latino young ladies, black young ladies. Latino of all spectrum. South America, Central America, Mexican, Caribbean. There's going to be a lot of little brown women. African, brown, Afro, Latino, all of us. We're at those joints. Remember, when COVID hit, it was brown people taking care of all the sick people. But if those senior homes and those health facilities shut down due to the $163 billion reduction in Medicaid and Medicare, where are they going to get their money from, or where those people going to work? See, because a lot of people say those facilities going to shut down. That's horrible, man. My parents, they ain't going to have nobody to take care of them. But now, what about those young ladies who went to school, CNAs and things of that nature, and they're working their way up to nurses? Those people are going to be without jobs. Oh, but guess what? That ain't gonna hurt, man. I'm cool, rap. I can handle that. But that's not cool to have to leave somebody else out in the cold. But that's why I keep telling y'all, download that 5 calls app. And every day you call, if you're in Chicago or you're in Illinois or wherever you are, call your 2 senators, Dick Durbin, I can't think of her name, Tammy Duckworth. You call them. Everybody lives somewhere. So that means that it's a person in the House of Representatives. You can get it on 5 calls app. You can call Brandon Johnson. You can call Dick Durbin. You can call Tammy Duckworth, your representative. And guess what you can call? The governor. And you call those people, you complain. Because if they remove those food stamps, a lot of people need, a lot of seniors that use food stamps. Oh, man, they go old anyway, right? No, I don't want my elders dying. They're valuable to me. And yours are valuable to you. Even if you're not using them properly, and I said that purposely, using them properly, because they have so much information they can download, and they'll tell you why. Man, that dude that you had me listen to while you sitting over here with me, he might be right. But what I want you to understand is this. So that Medicaid and Medicare, that's gone. And guess what? Some of those facilities that you had your mom at, your aunt, your uncle, your cousin, or whoever, the eldest in your family are, guess what happens when that Medicaid is cut? They garnish your wages because you signed the paper and you didn't read it all, and it says it in that paper. I'm not kidding. This is what we're up against. Guess what? China has America by the testicles. How? Because guess what? As big as China is, and 1 billion people in the country, and they triple the population of America, we still have more farmland in America. But here comes how capitalism punches you right in the face. How does capitalism punch you in the face? Because we have more farmland, but other countries outside of America don't want our food. They don't want our beef because we inject poisons. We inject steroids in the beef. We inject toxins in the beef. We don't want that mess. We're not eating that red dye foolishness that y'all eating over there, killing people, getting people cancer, even though your favorite president just cut cancer research money. You gonna give me the stuff that give me cancer, then you're gonna stop the people trying to cure me. But that's who y'all like. Because y'all didn't want no brown woman in there. Because she's so sassy, right? Back to the point. These are the things that we're dealing with. So China and Europe and Africa and South America and Mexico and Canada, they keep y'all stuff. But we can still send. We are the #1 producer of the crops. So they're going to have to bow down because, see, that's what Trump was talking about. Wrong. Because guess who's the #1 producer in crop dusting materials? China. And they're saying, until you remove those tariffs, don't call me. See, when you're the bully, and I told you, I've been telling y'all for months, evil only knows how to run. Evil is metaphorically Mike Tyson. Bobbing, weaving, swinging hard. He can knock you out. But good people, righteous people, we know how to slip punches. We know how to duck. We know how to weave. We know how to box. And then we can just do that and get around you, and then we'll tire you out and you lose. White people. And I do mean people, not European people, not Germans, not Irish, not Anglo, not Spaniards, not Portuguese, and all the other Eastern European countries, not those people, the people who identify as white. The end is coming for you. It is. The end of the world, as it says in Revelation, the end of the world. And people always leave off this portion as you know it. So, or what you can do is stop, as the thumbnail, you saw it on the thumbnail, stop grabbing people in the headlock and choking them out. Stop doing that. Stop creating laws. Stop giving people $600 million to disrespect children, because guess what? Children do take other children's toys, and it's not personal. That's just what children do, because they're mentally developing and they're making mistakes and they're being developed. And by the way, this young man was autistic, which means his mental capacities are less than, which as a parent, you should have empathy for that. But now you want to turn it into a racial thing and you want to attack. But again, attack. And then they distract us with people like, no disrespect to Godfrey, no disrespect to DL, no disrespect to Ari Spears, attacking. But now we don't need to be worried about that. We need to be calling our Dick Durbins, Tammy Duckworth, state representative, mayor, and governor, saying y'all better not pass this legislation to give. Guess what? The ultimate goal of this legislation: cut the budget, right. And then once you cut the budget, the billionaires get permanent tax cuts because they expire in November. If you let them do it, it's your fault. Guess what? When you drive around Chicago, what happens? What happens is, as you drive around Chicago, you have literally thousands of people laying in the street, living on the ground. You have things called tent city. Tent cities. You have literally a park of people living outside. And if you let these people reduce the taxes for the rich and give them money and have working class people continue to suffer, it's going to be even more people out there. I'm going to show you this Black history fact. I'll show you how working class people, brown people, human beings can do things without the rich people, and then we don't need them. I'm going to show you this. Here we go. But I'm not domino. And here we go. We're going to play this, and then, I'm going to do a little narration, and then we're going to start this going.
Baseball was originally played by men of rival athletic clubs for recreation. As the popularity of baseball began to expand, it led to the formation of amateur clubs in the second half of the 19th century. After the Civil War in 1865, baseball's popularity exploded dramatically. It was at this early time that it was still an amateur sport played by all races. There were all white teams, there were some all black teams, and there was some integrated teams. Record exists of abbreviated games between two black teams as far back as 1855, but there also was a precedent for black and white teams playing together as far back as 1870. John Bud Fowler is often credited with being the first black man to play organized white baseball in 1872. There was almost certainly some black players that preceded John Bud Fowler, but John Bud Fowler was the first black player to be recorded playing with an organized professional white baseball team. There are clippings.
Now, why am I showing you this? I'm showing you this because we've been told a lot. We've been fed a bill of goods. Jack Roosevelt Robinson was the first black person to ever be on the field with black people. No. See, this is how capitalism works. Capitalism creates a hierarchy. The hierarchy puts the people who are not white in a category that's above everybody else. And then you develop an inferiority complex. And then you start looking at each other crazy. See, it's those black people on the west side over there in K-Town. It's those these people over here and these people over there, realizing that's just some propaganda, that's foolishness to make you stop paying attention to the hate material that they're doing and make you hate people who get you closer to them and away from the people in your community. Allow them to continue.
That exists of Fowler playing with minor league teams from Lynn, Massachusetts to Canuck, Iowa. He pitched for a Canadian league called the Maple Leafs in Ontario, but when the white players objected to playing with him, he was released. And none of these teams could ever be considered a major league team. That term didn't even exist until 1876, when the National League was formed from the 6 strongest teams from the National Association. They withdrew from that organization, effectively killing it, to form a new league so the owners could have stronger central authority over the players. This move occurred when the owners began to seek to reduce player authority.
Again, see, when you're dealing with people and players, this is an organization that's trying to win. And if you didn't pay attention, this guy said the 1870s. The 1870s, not the 1970s, not 55 years ago. The 1870s, 155 years ago. See, this is the advent of capitalism being run by racism, and it's what is called a caste system. Now, I am going to end this portion of the conversation. The reason I'm going to end this portion of the conversation is because I want you to go here. I want you to go here. I want you to go to, oh my God, I just erased it. I'm tripping. I want you to go to www.endofthebench.com, www.endofthebench.com, www. I got to do this in real time. Deal with me, work with me, people. And you can watch this video in its entirety. The reason I want you to go there is because it's going to benefit me. I'm going to be honest with you. Unlike the dishonest people of the United States of America, they call themselves politicians. I want you to go there to benefit me, but it also benefits the creator of that video because the video is about 17 minutes long and only got about 6 more minutes on air. I could be on for hours and hours and hours, but I'm going to watch me some basketball tonight. How about that? But you watch it this entirety, you give me credit for visiting my website, you enhance yourself, and you put yourself in a better situation, and then you can see my previous work. But the reason I bring that up is, see, they need you to be as ignorant as possible about the reality of the world. When you're ignorant about the reality of the world, then you will be stagnant. And if you're stagnant, you don't move forward. If you don't move forward, we stay in control. We stay in control. But how do you combat this? You look into history. You complain to your politicians. See, and then when I want you to look back at history. You say, hold it, how's Rube Foster? Rube, R-U-B, his real name is Reuben, but he's known as Rube Foster. How was he able to own the Negro Leagues? He actually gangsted them out of some of the teams, and he took over the Negro Leagues because he was an original catcher in the Negro Leagues. And then, and only then, he was able to dominate. Then you want to know, hey, like things like, well, when Rube Foster, how is he owning leagues and playing in leagues and making more money? And then why? That's that video will tell you how white people start stealing from the Negro Leagues, and then because that's what they do, Like again, we're talking about white people, not German, Portuguese, Spanish, and things of that nature. He's talking about the hate-filled, angered mongrels called white people, not European people, because we're all human. And if all of creation started on the continent, that makes them our genetically recessive cousins. It's just the truth. I ain't make it up. I just can read. My mom had my sisters teach me how to read a long time ago, and I'll be reading, and then I have a lot of time on my hand. I'm a low-key nerd, whatever. But then you start to find out, wait a minute, you guys stole this from Mexico, and you got this from South America, and hold it, wait a minute, 65% of the people who were removed from the continent, they live in Brazil and South America and things like that. You have, that's what was, wait a minute. Why are we adhering to them? Oh, they only make up 10% of the population, actually 9.6% of the population on Earth. Why are we listening to them? Oh, the Mexican people make pyramids. The South American people have pyramids. Some of the ruins and what we call the Grand Canyon are actually pyramids. You have, wait a minute. Why are we bowing down to them? I don't know. But see, this whole integration thing, we're not anti-integrationists. But guess what? Segregation is a wonderful tool. See, because if you're part of, let's say, the Taíno Puerto Rican crew, you know what I mean? Our brothers down there in Puerto Rico, they got a wonderful history. Those brothers and sisters got wonderful history. And that enhances every Puerto Rican child in the world. They are better because they know where they come from. Oh, and then you have like people like my friend Yesenia Mina. Salute to Yesenia. And she's from Honduras, and the Honduran country has a wonderful history. Mexican people have a wonderful history. All these three countries on the continent of Africa, they all have their own rich and glorious history. All the countries in Europe, they have their own history that was created by the Moors. But if you follow me on Facebook, you'll see this in a couple of days. But that's neither here nor there. People have had, so it's nothing wrong with uplifting your people, uplifting the sisters, the elder women, the elder men in your community. Then you'll see the beauty in that. For example, 1976, I remember it because my mom took me to this Puerto Rican celebration, and they had the Puerto Rican flag, and she was like, "Yeah, that's that." She explained it to me, right? I was like, "Wow, that's cool." And then we started eating Puerto Rican food, and it was dope. And she had a Puerto Rican homegirl, and then it was happening. That was what's up. And I was able to respect it, and they was able to respect me. Guess what? I still go get Puerto Rican food. I go get a jibarito sandwich occasionally because I can appreciate their culture. And there's nothing wrong with that. Humboldt Park area is super dope. Never had a problem over there. Then they come over here, they go to McDonald's to get some soul food. That's why it's not necessarily bad, because now you're enhancing your culture, you're enhancing your community, and then you and that community working together, y'all adjacent, and then you fighting wickedness. And then guess what? We can go to Greek town, and the Greek people and the Puerto Rican people and the black people, they're working together against the tyrannical white people. And then we go to Little Italy, which is down the street, and then we go to Pilsen, and then we all working together against tyranny and hate. If anybody doesn't understand what I'm saying or agree with what I'm saying, there was this one guy, one of my favorite people in the history of Chicago. His name is former mayor, rest in peace, Harold Washington. You know what he did? He broke what was called the Chicago political machine. That Chicago political machine used to have white men controlling the entire city. And instead, over there in Pilsen, he put my man Luis Gutierrez in. And then he put people on the South Side in, and then Bobby Rush, former black member of the Black Panther Party self-defense, and so forth and so on. And the people who were representing you look just like you. You know why that's important? Because the people who look like you that's representing you, they know your plight. They know what you've dealt with, and they know what's going on in your community, so they know how to uplift your community. Remember that rising tide lifts all boats. Remember I told you, Harold Washington was the tide, and he lifted all the boats. And all of a sudden, he passed away, and people forgot what he did. Now, again, this is why that beautiful thing in your hand, you call it a phone. You call it this phone, but you know what it is? It's really a computer, a more powerful computer than the computer that got people to the moon. So if you use it as a tool or a toy, I would suggest you use it as a tool. Google, no. Hey, Google, what is this? No. Start asking, if you're going to do that, ask specific questions. And then you'll be able to uprise, uplift, unite working class people, uplift and unite your community, no matter where you're from. We can minimize racism, because racism is the root of all evil. I mean, it's one of the roots in evil. You're not going to get away with evil negativity, because you must have the world is balanced. But we can minimize the effect of that negativity, the hate, the tyranny, and the bigotry, and then we can live in peace like we used to do back in the day. With that being said, I'm gonna shout out to my main man, Combat Jack, rest in peace. He's one of the major factors in me being a podcaster today. And I'm gonna say, I want you guys to hit like, I want you to hit share, I want you to tell a friend to tap in to your HRap. But before that, I want you to dream those dreams and man up and woman up and live your dreams, because life without dreams flows in black and white. Life with dreams flows in technicolor and surround sound. I need you to subscribe. I need you to hit like. I need you to, hey, when it ends, tell me where you're from, and I want you to watch to the end, because every day at the end, the late great Dr. Amos Wilson said something powerful. I see y'all in about 23 and a half hours, 2 fingers, 1 word. It's your man HRap,
and it is necessary for those people who rule over us and who rule over African people the world over, if those people are to stay in power, they must destroy our ability to love each other in a healthy sort of way. This is why